Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Sleeping Warrior, father of a stolen child, Neil, Arwin, 10th Man, and a whole bunch, the Adam Meakin, sorry, nearly missed you, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Hello.
Afternoon.
Hello.
Morning.
Good to have you all. We didn't do housekeeping yesterday because we were so into the midst of the catastrophe that has been brought upon this debate and discussion about the nature of our reality, thanks to conspiracy cats. So hashtag thanks cats. I'm sure we'll discuss it again in this show, but I do want to do housekeeping on this particular show. Plenty of discussion in that regard went into the pre-show, so if you've just listened to all that, you'll understand why I do actually want to do housekeeping today. So any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
Blackpool Swan.
Yeah, I was just going to say they have this picture now called the Blackpool Swan. That's the evidence.
We know it's a ball because we measure it flat.
Yeah, the picture is great evidence as long as you don't ask any questions about it. Right, Adam?
Yeah, I think the evidence from that is if you mathematically calculate how many pixels should be there based on the straw man, there appears to be a differential, and your curvature exists in that differential.
And that differential is based in a perspective Mong trig from Globe Earthers when representing the straw man you mentioned and stating that that's our version of the world, when they use a very rudimentary understanding of trigonometry and claim it's a linear perspective that we definitely have, but does not feature in Earth curve mathematics.
Yeah.
Well, that's a massive problem.
It's just hidden in the numbers. The differential suggests that the only thing it could be is a ball, because the pixels don't match.
So are they throwing Al Biruni under the bus and going with pixels now?
Well, with the pixel, couldn't, like, depending on how strong your camera is and depending on how far away the object is, it could have more or less pixels that make it up within that camera.
Yeah, that might be well the case, and they might argue that. However, they're currently telling us all about perspective that is not in Earth curve mathematics. And the reason it's all going skewy and we're all laughing at them is because they're putting a ruler on things like a mountain, where the top of the mountain is far away and the bottom of the mountain is close. So when they say this is a 1,000-foot mountain, do you think they've actually considered the fact that the bottom's closer than the top, and that has an effect when detailing perspective? No, of course not. They're using Mong trig. Obviously, they're trying to set fire to it and say it's ours, but nobody here's claiming that. Meanwhile, they've acknowledged perspective is real, but doesn't feature in their Earth curve maths.
That's a problem.
Massive problem if you're claiming Earth's a sphere and you can compare pictures to this maths that doesn't include perspective that they're telling us all about. Very badly, I might add. What's that you say? No, that's how flat earthers claim it. You find an example of that, fundies. And then we'll laugh and point out that it's actually your idiotic ideas of how the world would work when flat, not ours.
Well, maybe if they look and dig for some 2015 videos, they might find that.
Yeah,
Here and
they're
there.
desperately trying to ignore the black swan, and as a result of that, they've presented a cropped, cherry-picked image that currently is being very insistent on having debated only. So, whereas in the past we were accused of cherry-picking incorrectly, because people don't understand what cherry-picking is, and then when a very literal cherry-picked image with a cropped black swan taken out is being told to people on the flat earth side can only be talked about if it's the cropped one, then you know you've got a problem.
Well, they're saying we're denying that the Earth is flat now. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, when we point out their straw man, they say we're denying the Earth's flat because we're saying no, nobody calculates fuckwit trig that Katz has used to claim a flat Earth. He's done it because he needs to acquire the angle somehow, and he can't do it on a curved surface. So he's done it in a very crude way to make his argument, and then tried to burn it as a straw man. So what? We're denying that the Earth's flat because we don't ascribe fuckwit trig to our claims, where Katz does. Yeah, what we will do is point out how idiotic Katz's trig is, not take it on as a straw man that we're going to accept, and then accept that if we don't, we're not claiming flat Earth anymore. That's seriously pathetic. But that's what they've got.
Nathan, wouldn't their Earth curve mathematics put the geometric horizon in front of Blackpool?
Yeah, it would.
Well, they got a problem then.
They got a massive problem. It's called the... I'll just remind the fundies on the globe side. Go and get a pen and write this down. It's very important that you understand it. It's only been 18 months. It's called the Black Swan. You remember that thing you all hand waved? Yeah, that's why I'm pulling Rumpus's pants down and smacking his ass when it comes to perspective. Now, had you have all actually understood the Black Swan rather than hand waving it and just saying refraction, demolishing your own geometric claims, I might add, you might appreciate how badly wrong things are going for those of you who hand waved it in the first instance. Because now we're into a position where you're apparently telling us all about how perspective works in the most pathetic manner that we're laughing at, but simultaneously acknowledging that we do have this effect that you formerly called flirtspective, because it was so silly to use perspective when your calculators didn't. Now we're just back to, so it is okay to use perspective. Apparently linear perspective's okay, according to Rufy. Well, apply it to your curve maths then. Don't just call it flirtspective, because that's what we're going to call Mong trig. Flirtspective. When you think that's how perspective works, yeah, flirtspective strawmen. That's not perspective, idiots. And debunking it won't be debunking a flat earth either. That's called a straw man fallacy. We're not making the argument that Mong trig proves a flat earth. You are, when you need to acquire angles so that you don't have to look at the geometric horizon. We've also been told we're not allowed to debate. Not allowed to debate Earth curve? What gives? Crazy days, eh? Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
You know,
Nothing.
Nope.
No, there's no constant wind happening. It's in one direction. It's actually kind of wind still right now.
Well, they claim that we've got a 15 degrees now drift as Earth turns underneath stuff not attached. It's called Coriolis effect. The not actual deflection of things moving through an inertial reference frame as you turn beneath them on a non-inertial reference frame to give what they claim is a 15 degrees an hour deviation as you watch things in the air drift away from you. That doesn't happen, though.
Well, the 15 degrees an hour has to do with the sun moving, not the Earth.
They claim it's...
Things are conservative.
What are they conserving now?
They're conserving their angular velocity.
What's that
and
measured
angular
in?
momentum.
What's that measured in?
We calculate it in radians.
Where'd you get the radius from?
Oh dear.
The horizon.
And do they consider the atmosphere attached?
Atmosphere, sphere-shaped air. Air takes the shape of a container, not sphere-shaped.
No, I had somebody tell me that air is the
So
container.
it's not attached.
Not attached. What do you mean not attached? Contained. It's not attached. Air doesn't attach. It's not Velcro.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the new thing now. The air is the container.
No, the air's the thing that needs a container.
So I don't need a propane tank anymore?
No, propane's the container.
Well, I said the only way you're going to have an atmosphere is if you get a sphere-shaped container.
Yeah, air will take the shape of a sphere-shaped container. It takes the shape of its container. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container?
No, that's nonsense.
No, that's why the propane truck comes in with a big container on the back to deliver propane to me in my container. That's why.
I'm pretty sure that truck's made of propane itself, though, isn't it? The truck itself is made of propane, correct?
How
That's
can you
pressurized. That's pressurized air. It's the difference between pressurized air and air pressure. Don't you know that?
How can you prove gas pressure without a container when we're in a container and you would require a container to basically deprive a space of gas pressure in order to try and attempt you can have gas pressure without a container?
You can't have gas pressure without a container.
Right. And you need several containers to prove that.
Does Earth have gas pressure?
Yes.
We are breathing.
Measured.
I'm alive.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
I currently don't think it exists because I don't see anything. Just a bunch of daylight getting scattered on the clouds with all very non-centralized light, just like spreading all over the place, not from a specific location where normally the apparition of the sun would be. So
Interesting turn of phrase there, Arwin. Day light. The light from the day.
yeah.
Well, I heard flat earthers say that it's local.
What's local?
The sun.
We got the address?
Well, in contrast to what?
We got the address? If it's local, I'll pop over.
In contrast to what, Neil?
93 million miles away.
Thank you.
Sorry, has it got a postcode or what? Zip code for you
I still
Americans?
think it's wrong to claim that too, that it's local. We don't know that.
Well, in navigation, they need it to be as far and far away as possible so the light comes in parallel. But since the light comes in divergent, I think in that context, light that's closer will diverge. And as you take it far away, because of the distance, this is how the ballers say it's parallel. So in that context, I think is the reference that they're saying. No one knows the address to the sun. That's why the question is solid. There's no evidence for the distance to the sun.
You late chocolate.
It's chocolate got a specific purpose being here today. Hey, chocolate.
Morning, guys. Morning.
You late chocolate.
It's never late for chocolate, Anthony.
15 minutes past.
That implies that there's some sort of structured timetable, or he has to be here, he doesn't.
I'm just pointing out he's late for work.
This is not work.
Remember when we used to do that with Curved Water? We used to actually make excuses for why he was late because he was stuck in traffic getting into work because he'd always be on the panel.
Right.
Didn't last too long, did it?
It's just hinting that we think they're paid to
It
do what
does
they
kind
do.
of feel like a second job, though. Can't lie.
Yeah.
Well, for me, there is a financial motivation and incentive as a YouTuber to do what I do. It doesn't change my passion. But the point is that there wasn't anything similar to parallel that with the people that turn up day after day after day after day after day, year after year after year after year. Well, what's their incentive? Why would they go to the trouble of publishing websites and essentially making no money from it but dedicating huge amount of time. Well, time is money, right? If you're going to dedicate your time to it, what's the reward? Just laughing at flat earthers while you deceive people with mathematics that don't pad out currently because there's no perspective in earth curve maths.
Well, the benefit is therapy. It's just calming themselves down by falsely echoing their beliefs. That's the reward. They pay for it because...
I think you're right in the case of people like Conspiracy Cats or Ruhif or maybe even Ranty. Yeah, but that high is short-lived. But I'm not talking about those types of people. I'm talking about Rumpus. I'm talking about Kosho. I'm talking about...
I think you might change your view on Conspiracy Cats and Co. once I show you this next bit of evidence. It's pretty interesting.
Let's rattle our way through the housekeeping. Any evidence of, or scientific evidence of gravity?
No, they're even.
What is it?
They're even changing how and what it is. So.
Yeah, 90% of the population think gravity is a force. It isn't.
Are you kidding me?
But if
15 to 20 miles is locally flat because of gravity, the force of gravity.
God,
That's
confusing.
not a gravity
But
claim.
seriously, you need to know a substance. You need to know what it is before you can get scientific evidence for it. It's
Sorry,
not
I
the
heard
other
something
way
new.
around. So
Sorry to interrupt, Darwin. I heard something new. Was that who was just talking? Was it Neil?
What, about 15-mile locally flat
No.
due to the force of gravity?
No. Number one, that's not a gravity claim. Number two, it is claimed that there is 8 inches per mile squared of curvature from any location because it's a sphere that we are claimed to be stood on. So definitely not locally flat caused by gravity. So the bending of a conceptual medium known as pseudo-Riemannian force space by way of the uneven distribution of mass in a reification, you think causes locally flat. What an utter pile of nonsense. Who stated that utter pile of crap? Definitely not locally flat, definitely not an effect of gravity. Who came up with this crap?
I think his name is Ranty. He's a famous flat earther named Ranty.
Someone left me a priceless comment about Ranty. They were like, yeah, he didn't really manage to debunk the sphere when he was a flat earther, but I bet he will now he's a globehead.
Well, next housekeeping question. Come on.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, Danny Faulkner is not a scientist.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Only if you think about it and then draw it as a diagram or an illustration.
The absence of R killed that one.
encyclopedias.
Okay, that's it. That concludes the housekeeping.
All right, Anthony, what do you got?
Right, screen share, Nathan. Let me get this on. I was hoping that Brian would be in, but we're going to have to do this on the understanding that Brian gets told about this, because obviously he's not in at the minute. Don't know where he is, but he needs to know about this because it's going to change his whole argument. So yesterday, Brandon put on his show. He said, sorry all, no show tonight. First hour of tomorrow's night show will be Flat Earth only instead of tonight. P.S. The previous message posted by this channel was not Brandon, it was Ranty. How would Ranty post a comment on Brandon's channel if it was genuinely Brandon's? It's a moot question. You don't have to answer it. It's just rhetorical. But in this, Conspiracy Cats puts a comment, and there's a bit back and forth. There's the usual comments. And then as this thread progresses, you'll see Chris Berry. He says, Cats, very Weasley of you to stipulate not talking about the cropped portion in the debate. Honestly, pathetic. Cats, no idea what you're talking about. Anyone can ask anything they want. Don't know where you heard that nonsense. Well, we all know where that nonsense got a reference, don't we? Chris Berry. So Brian can talk about the cropped out part of the photo, ? Conspiracy Cats. How many times do I need to say it? He can ask anything. I am not a flat earther channel. I run fair debates. Where did you get this nonsense from? I have no idea. Chris Berry. From Ranty to Brian. Seems he's trying to make it unfair. And then I said, Cats, you're lying. There is no way that you have not seen his current upload and are fully aware of his demands and stipulations. You must think that we came in on the same boat that Ranty did. And obviously I've liked my own comment because it's glorious. Anyway, it goes on for a bit longer. And then Cat says at the end, where's he put it? There we go. Conspiracy cats. Brian can ask about the cropped part and Ranty can ask about the non-cropped part. Nobody will be allowed to question Dodge. So I don't know what's going on here, but we're having conflicting answers because Ranty's saying blue and Conspiracy Cats is saying red, and we're all jumping up and down laughing at Ranty's blueness, and he's saying redness, and it's like, hang on, what's going on here?
Sorry.
So it seems that they're trying to deliberately confuse people.
Sorry, so we have a concession that they have indeed cherry-picked this image from Katz himself.
Yeah, I guess so, because he's admitted it's a cropped part.
So, Katz, here we have black and white proof that you cherry-pick your evidence to present to your audience. You're admitting it, you cropped it. So you cropped out the very devastating black swan part. And we can discuss the bit that you removed for your audience, can we? We can discuss the bit that you cherry-picked as well. Well, that's nice. Thank you so much, Katz. We have your permission to discuss the bit you cherry-picked. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
Thank you.
The thing is, obviously, Ranty and Katz appear on face value to be at opposite ends of the spectrum, and there's no way that these guys are at opposite ends of the spectrum. That's so naive to think that that's the case. They're clearly playing games here, aren't they? This is not normal. It's like Nathan saying, I don't know, something, and then Arwin going out and saying completely the opposite. They would jump all over that. So that's ridiculous. So what's going on?
Bad example.
Like,
very bad.
That's why if I'm Brian, I'm not listening to anything. I'm just driving home all my points on the whole picture. Forget about all these rules.
yeah, but I'm just pointing out the inconsistencies and the unreliability of the two people that are supposed to be hosting and moderating or whatever.
I can just ask
There's a new rule. You're not allowed to talk about the rules.
Yeah.
I just want to ask Brian, when you say the picture, do you mean the quote cropped picture that Katz was detailing?
Oh, it's a joke.
Why was it cropped?
I thought they didn't crop it though.
Sorry, why was it cropped?
Because he didn't want to talk about that bit on the left, Nathan. It kind of debunks their argument.
Well, we know that they cropped out a very devastating black swan, but I'm just saying, why was it cropped at all? Why would that be necessary? Why are you cherry-picking your evidence to present to your audience? Why are you censoring out certain parts of the image? It's just coincidental that we're pointing out that the uncropped image is devastating? But we can discuss it after you'd cropped it and presented it to your clown audience that don't know you're deceiving them by cropping things. Nice cropping, though.
I think there's a much more pertinent question. Instead of what about the cropped parts, I think the question really should be who cropped it out.
Who cares? They're all together, Katz and co, making these claims. Do I care if it was Ruhif or Ranty that actually ran the crop over it? Who cares? It's their claim. And amongst their tribe, they have people that are willing to deceive their audience and cherry-pick the evidence. And he's admitting it. Yeah, but you can discuss the uncropped, uncensored part if you want. Oh, well, thanks. And if we hadn't noticed, nobody would mention it, that you'd cropped it. Yeah, that's the score. These people are deceivers. There's no two ways about it.
How could they even imagine that we wouldn't go and research just even a little bit who this photographer is, Mr. Jackson, find the original and realize that he's selling it, and we would see what they cropped out. I mean,
Because they're projectors. They don't do their own research, and they think we're the same way.
Yep, precisely. They didn't look at it. They might have looked at it. We discussed this yesterday, John and I. Well, they might have looked at it and gone, oh, well, that doesn't quite meet our argument standards. We'll just crop that bit out. Not thinking, because they've hand-waved it for 18 solid months, that, oh, well, what is a black swan? Do you think we should check? Should we check first? They haven't done any of that. They're just lazy. And we come along and point out that not only have they censored out part of the image, but we are allowed to talk about the, quote, cropped bit, according to Katz. Well, thank you very much. Well, we'll also discuss why it was cropped in the first instance and the bit that was cropped out being devastating. Yeah, we will definitely do that then. Thank you for your permission to go beyond the scope of the bit you cropped out. Thank you so much.
so what's the point of a debate?
So they can lay down their ground rules, and at the end, when their ground rules are fulfilled, they can say we won. Or if they're not, they can cry foul because it was very made clear by Ranty, who apparently isn't on the same page as Katz, that anything's on the table when Ranty's specifically saying don't talk about the geometric horizon. That's Earth curve, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we've got plenty of messages from the opponent on the globe side. I'm putting that in quotes. On the globe side, Ranty. Yeah, he's going to cause chaos.
Well, that's my point. If you
this is a hot mess for them. This is ridiculous.
If you show the whole image, there's no point to this debate. It's a black swan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a black ball swan. That's correct. Why? Well, because the bit that they cropped out makes that more glaringly obvious. Not that you don't or aren't capable of doing it, as you discussed in the pre-show. You know, isn't it supposed to be before the shoreline at Blackpool Tower anyway? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, correct. I mean, you would if you're going to be a glober, you wouldn't pick this picture. I mean, come on.
Guys, what's going on here? Nobody claims the horizon is the curve of the Earth.
Yeah, that's the standpoint now, even though they debated with us about proving that it got in the way of boats, buildings. But now boats and buildings and Isle of Man are blocked by refraction. So we're told.
Everything that we wanted to have them understand when the original Black Swan Miramar Beach picture of the two oil rigs came out, January 2020. They basically went and got a picture, and it's proving what we wanted them to understand, and now it's cropped out, and now they are saying things about perspective that they've never said before. So there is somewhat of a victory if you look at it that way, but at the same time, this is why people said, is Ranty setting him up? Because why would anyone use this picture? Because this is just as good as the Miramar Beach one, except over there in the UK, and they have to cut part of it out and then have an argument about it when even the front of the Blackpool shouldn't. I mean, it's just amazing.
I mean, I think
that
would make Ranty an evil genius. So he's decided that because he was disappointed with the outcome of the Blackpool Swan, the Isle of Man discussion, you know, we cried foul because there's no perspective. They said we don't need perspective, it's geometric. And now we're back into a position where he could insert himself into their fold, get them all talking about perspective, so we can, from this side of the fence, go, yeah, wonderful. Yeah, there's no perspective in your Earth curve maths. You told us geometry. Even though we can't see the geometric horizon now, but that's a different point. Oh, no, it's not, is it? It's the same point. Hashtag thanks, rats.
I think I can more succinctly detail how the straw man Ranty made with his angular size change orthographic view. What he did is he took the measurements from Google Earth that are measured flat. You get your angular size changes from that orthographic line of sight you can draw. And then he took those sizes, changed them into actual sizes again, and put them in orthographic view again after it. I don't know. It's pretty clever in a kind of sick way.
Not really. When you draw a line of sight in an orthographic view, it doesn't represent angles. Now, if you're saying he's extracting the data out from that to produce angles to seem like he's dealing with angles, he hasn't actually factored in the fact that there's a diminished angle for things that are further away when you take a single line of sight, and then presumably uses the values that Google Earth tell him the mountains are, as opposed to the angular size measurements. So you could say it's deceptive. I wouldn't say it's clever. I'd say it's Mongtrig, because that's what it is.
Yeah, okay, that's more fair, I guess. It is Mongtrig.
Yeah, so this is how they say the flat Earth works. Oh, really? All right, well, it's only you saying that, guys. Sorry. But that makes it your claim, and makes you complete clowns, and means that we're sat here laughing at you about how idiotic your version of how you think the world should represent itself, because that's not us. Yeah, we'll laugh at that. But simultaneously, the fact that you're doing a pathetic job of trying to detail how perspective works, yeah, means that it's back on the table. It means that we can point out that you don't include it in your maths. Now, so far, it seems that only Ruhif has realised that little problem, and then just pointed Anthony at refraction in the maths and gone, that's perspective, when he had literally told us during the Isle of Man, no, not perspective, not needed, it's geometric. Don't you understand how an orthographic view? Don't you know how to build a building? You don't need perspective in that. You need whole numbers. Oh, really? So don't need perspective, cos geometric. Okay, got it. What's that you say, Ruhif? That refraction value at 7/6 of the radius that's got nothing to do with actual refraction. That's also perspective now? Oh, dear. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that happens when someone like Katz puts the Blackpool Swan on the table. Yeah? Someone like Ruhif suddenly has to tell us that perspective is in the calculator? Oh, no, 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 no. Do we need to go back and trim out a few people telling us how we don't need flurfspective, dickheads? Geometry. Yeah? Only to now have the very unfortunate situation where they're telling us all about perspective that they don't have in their maths. Oh dear, oh dear.
That's really gotta suck to have to reach back into the toilet and try to establish an argument that you threw away years ago, made fun of the opposing side for having, and now that's your argument.
And they're
That's
really
pretty
pretending.
pathetic.
Yeah,
They're
especially-
really honest to God pretending. Because like every time Nathan says you want us to go and get a clip of you saying the exact opposite, it's almost like they think it's like, you know, a threat, not a promise. Until one day they come into some random server, you know, pretending, and then you put those two side by side and you're like, what's going on there? They have nothing to say. Nothing. It's just
Because what could you say? What can you say after that? After years of fighting it, all of a sudden that's your argument.
Well, what you can do is what Rumpus had to do. He came here to defend the clown show trig that Katz has presented as a straw man that we burnt on day one, and as a direct consequence, he had to lie about what he'd formerly claimed was getting in the way of the Isle of Man and tell us that he definitely calculated a refracted horizon back in the day. Now, it might have scrolled by his screen, so we know damn well he's lying about this, but ultimately speaking, he definitely didn't calculate a refracted horizon. Can you mute,
Eli, you gotta
please?
go on
Eli,
mute.
you're causing a load of feedback. Can you mute, please? But he didn't calculate a refracted horizon, and then he told us that he did. He lied. And then I called him on it and smacked his little bottom over it for about 10 straight minutes as he stuttered and stammered around his lie. That's what actually happened. So Ruhif can do the same. He can lie and say, I didn't draw a tangent to Earth curve and claim it was getting in the way of the Isle of Man with geometric values that definitely didn't require flurfspective because they were geometric. I actually calculated 7/6 hours perspective. That's what I was actually doing. He can lie. He can do that. Yeah. And just think it's a threat rather than hours and hours of documented footage of them telling us that flurfspective isn't necessary because of their geometric values that were only calculable with tangents that they don't have anymore. They can lie about it. That's right. Like Ruhif has that option, yeah. But it didn't end well for Rumpus now, did it? He had to call me a wanker when I said, yeah, go and get me the show number where you calculated a refracted horizon during the Isle of Man. I'll bring it on Monday. Wednesday comes around. He comes in again because of Katz's issues with his Blackpool Swan to defend it, do a bit of greasy lawyering. And what was the net result? Well, the same thing exactly. He had to concede that he wasn't using geometric horizons and they are necessary to do geometry. He had to lie and say he was using a refracted horizon. I tried to tell you, and I only used the geometric horizon because you made me do that. That's what he told us.
Yeah, he said you had to dumb it down for you.
Yeah, he had to dumb down the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. When calculating the refracted targets around a geometric horizon, he used a tangent to claim was Earth curve. That was dumbed down. Really, it was a refracted horizon. He just never mentioned that it wasn't Earth curve blocking the Isle of Man. Refraction was blocking the Isle of Man. Making a mockery of his claim that it proved Earth curve, he had to concede that off the back of Kat's catastrophe. Yeah? But meanwhile, we've got perspective on the table, right? Whose trig are we going to be talking about with these mountains that are further away at the top and closer at the bottom? What's that? You're going to put a straight ruler and count pixels? What about the fact that the top's further away, idiots? What's that you cry? It's flat earth math we're using that nobody's ever claimed. No, it isn't. Day one rebuttal, mate. I know you need to cling to that straw man, but you're now in a boat where you're all going to have to lie. Because you've all made claims that are dedicated to tape. You were claiming to prove Earth curve. You drew tangents and did geometry to claim it. Now Earth curve isn't getting in the way. Refraction's blocking the bottom, right? Because that's obviously what you all claimed back then when you were trying to prove Earth curve was obscuring our view. Yeah? So about that Earth curve obstruction at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Well, it doesn't exist beyond your mathematics. The Earth's not a sphere. But feel free to lie about linear perspective that isn't in your maths. With the mountain at the top further away than the bottom. Hello? That's your trig, clowns. It's just going to get more embarrassing from here forward. Or more deceptive from their side, because they are going to have to lie about what they've very specifically claimed in the past when it comes to their relinquishment of a geometric horizon they don't have anymore, and perspective that definitely isn't in their maths. Suck it up, Ruhif, Ranty and Cats. You're causing chaos. Ruhif, you're going to have to lie at some point about what you have and haven't done, just like Rumpus did. And we'll call you liars, because that's what you are on the globe side. You've got to lie. It's not a sphere.
Wait a second. I still see video. You can get videos that they claim that when a boat is going in the distance, it disappears hull first because of Earth curve. So I don't get it.
We don't get it because they're currently telling us that we do not see the geometric horizon that formerly had boats going over it. Now it's a refracted horizon. The horizon we see is based on an R value that was acquired from a horizon that was physical to refract that physical horizon that gives them their geometry and ability to draw a tangent. Well, they don't want it to be a tangent when they need a tangent. They want it to be a bent line to the horizon with an R value that was acquired by a tangent and is needed to do the geometry in the first instance. That's what they want. It's nonsense.
It just gets better every day.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing, Globers. You think people ain't paying attention. I got regular, just, I guess I could call them normies, listening to this little escapade of yours. And even they are saying, wow, these guys are, I'm starting to realize these guys are really full of shit. Yeah. And they're normies.
I might as well
do
do
you
a
think
shout
we're
out.
not paying attention to you guys? Please.
Off the back of that chocolate, I'm going to do a little shout out. I'm not going to name anyone specifically, but I've had quite a few emails from people saying, yeah, you're getting a lot of flack at the moment, I know, but it's because you're right over the target. Kudos. And I've had several emails on that subject from people saying, this is ace. You're slaying them, man. This is wicked. Keep it up. I'm really enjoying it.
Yep. People that I've had listening on and off sporadically for a few months now, and now they're talking about this little saga, I guess you want to call it. It's starting to really open their eyes. So keep it up, lovers.
Yeah.
What you're doing is creating more flat earthers. Thanks.
Yeah,
That's what I say. Keep letting them talk.
Keep trying to educate us on your feeble understandings of perspective when it's not included in Earth curve maths. Keep doing that. So we can say, perspective then. Yeah, perspective's real then. Not in your maths, it isn't. Yeah, in your maths, it's only Earth curve that causes things to disappear. Doesn't matter how far they are. The only reason they've gone is because there's a sphere Earth getting in the way. Or it was before the Blackpool Swan demolished the assertion that we're on a sphere. Because if we were, every distance to horizon that's Earth curve could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's your geometric limitation of a sphere. And the Blackpool Swan annihilates that assertion that we're on a sphere. Of course, our opponents, who are supposed to be in the affirmative position with the consensus behind them, had to crop that out. And I quote, yeah, you can discuss the, quote, cropped bit, says Conspiracy Cats.
It's odd to me that the thing they want to focus on is the part that they say you can't see, they say is hidden, and the part, but they want to focus on the part you can see at the top that's not hidden.
That's correct. Yeah, just to boil that down, because we haven't got the image on screen right now. They want to give us angular sizes for things that are occulted. So you've got Blackpool in front of some mountains, and they want to discuss angular sizes that are impossible to acquire because you can't get the bottom angle. It's obscured by Blackpool. Now, in the very same image, you can see to the bottom of the mountains. Flat Earth. It's a flat Earth proof, even if you don't understand the black swan. You're seeing all the way to the base. But they don't want to talk about that particular part, even though they're claiming sizes of mountains. Now, we point it out, and you have Roofy come along, put rulers up against it, and we say, top of mountain far away, bottom of mountain close. So what he starts doing is asserting positions with a linear scale and a ruler based on pixels, and rubbing out the top of the ruler, so it doesn't fuck up his stupid scale and his Mong trig. Well, we can sit here and point out how inept they are when it comes to an understanding of perspective, because that's not our claim. As I say, we dealt with that in rebuttal in day one. Keep clinging on to it, though. So do the lawyers that come here. I know they're bum smacked with regards to their claims of Earth curve. They don't have any more. All of those are now void as a result of this. And I could put a big void stamp on Earth curve maths. It's great. Thanks, cats. Yeah, you're right, Chris.
Mong trig.
Chris is right. They don't want to talk about the mountain that you can see, which we could technically, in their Mong trig, calculate their pixel values for a linear perspective that doesn't apply to a mountain that's further away at the top. Nevertheless, that's what they're applying and could apply. And as a result, we're pointing out their cherry picking. They have tried to apply badly because it doesn't work. But then when we go, where's this in the maths? The very guy doing it, Ruhif, points at refraction. What's that? Is terrestrial refraction also flurfspective then, Roofy? No.
So you're saying you have to apply Mong trig when you're using Muppet vision?
Correct. If you're applying trig to Mong, you're going to end up with Muppet vision.
Great.
Muppet vision, for the audience's benefit, is an orthographic view. It occasionally pops up on the screen with a man holding a Muppet next to a lighthouse. The lighthouse has got 100 feet, and the distance between it says 1,000. Meaningless. Because in the same way they present it for National Geographic presentations of Earth curve, you've got a man looking at binoculars at a ship, and it's on an Earth that's very much out of scale, and would be the equivalent of about 8,000 miles away, or something absolutely ludicrous. But it's the still same scale, the boat's a bit bigger than him, etc., etc. Well, that's how they do it. The boat's always 100 foot, the mountain's always 1,000 foot, the tower's always 100 meters. That's what they do. So that as you get further and further and further away from it, that value won't change with distance. Yeah, big problem when you've got something like a mountain that's got a varying scale, because they stick a ruler on it and go, well, it's 1,000 feet. Oh, yeah? Well, we're talking about perspective. Stuff that's closer, bigger at the bottom because it's closer, further away, smaller. It's really simple stuff. Can't you even grasp the basics of perspective? Clearly not, because you're in a globe paradigm, yeah, which doesn't have it. So it frazzles their brains when they try and apply these whole numbers to perspective. They've got to jump through all sorts of hoops, just like Ranty. Well, I'm going to take the orthographic view that doesn't show perspective. I'm going to get the measurements from Google Earth, a flat Earth representation, when you draw out the elevation profiles. I'm going to ascribe the mountains with their feet and inches value, and then extract with a single line of sight their angular size. Once I've got that, I'll convert it back into Muppet vision side on to present how much should or shouldn't be seen when you've got the feet and inches values changed based on my conversion to angular size from Muppet vision, and then back into an orthographic representation to show you how the world's actually dropping with perspective that isn't in the curved maths. None of this shit that Ranty's doing is part of curved maths. They've got maths for a sphere already, dickheads. And it doesn't have this perspective you seem to be keen to tell us about. All right. Well, tell us away. We'll just point out how inept you are, whilst pointing out it's not in the curve maths. It's been hijacked. And the values don't change with distance, which is why they won't scale when you put your rulers on the bit you cropped out. All very embarrassing.
That's just too long to handle.
Did you call them a new tribe, Cats and Co?
Yeah,
That's
Cats
a
and
law
Co.
firm.
But Chris is right. Back to Chris's point. The bit that they could actually make their claims with and seem coherent, because they're not making a claim about something you can't see because it's occulted. They didn't want that bit in the image. And I just think it's beautifully delicious. Why wouldn't you want this in your image? Why would you crop out a bit that's making your claim stronger? Is it because it's a black swan and annihilates the assertion that Earth's a sphere radius 3959? Would that be why you cropped it out? Easier to just argue about angular sizes for things you can't see than defend the black swan, right? Probably not. They probably didn't even realise, having hand-waved it for 18 months, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they're more deceptive because they're more intelligent, rather than less deceptive because they're thick.
Well, this proves they didn't understand the black swan because they used another picture that's just like the black swan.
I've been saying that for the longest time. They still don't understand the argument.
It's coming back to bite them. Better learn it quick. That's why Rumpus, the best of the best in terms of obfuscation and deception for the globe. That's why he got his bum smacked and had to concede. Well, yeah, I was using the geometric horizon that we can't see anymore, that we only have in the maths. I was looking at that and measuring it in the Isle of Man. Yes, I was. But that was because it was dumbed down. Oh, right, dumbed down. But Cat's Montig's not dumbed down. That's perfectly representative. You like Mongtrig? It's all one word.
And it's just frustrating because, again, that part that's cropped, apparently, Grantee doesn't want Brian to discuss. Well, in my opinion, that's the only part you can discuss because it's the only part you can see the mountain unocculted. So why do you want to discuss the part that you can't see, but say is blocked by Earth curve, but you can't see it? But the part you can see that's not blocked, you don't want to discuss. It makes no sense, and it's just very telling about.
Sorry, the bit that's not blocked by Earth curve. You mean the black swan?
No, the Earth curve's only over there.
Yeah.
Doesn't curve on the outside.
No. They don't want us to talk. That's another stipulation. You're not allowed to talk about the geometric horizon. That's Earth curve. Not allowed to talk about that because in their presentation, when they hold up a straw man to acquire the angles in the first instance to claim the drop without use of an Earth curve edge obstruction, the Earth curve edge obstruction that they would claim is obscured by Blackpool itself. So they're calculating or claiming they can calculate angular sizes. No, they're not. They're getting the whole values from Google Earth, which presents itself as flat. It's a complete catastrophe.
Hey, Brian, are you there?
Yeah, what's going on?
Are you aware that the goalposts have been fundamentally changed for your debate tonight?
Yeah, shout out to Chris Berry.
Oh, right, you're aware. So now you can talk about anything you want.
Yeah, and I will be talking about things, but I really want to talk first and foremost about what Ranty wants to talk about. That is what I want to
I just wanted to make sure that you knew because there's two different stories from different people on their side, so I wasn't sure if you knew or not.
Brian is a constant gentleman.
I like that, Brian. Give them the ball.
He's a constant
I've got to take my
Right.
video down.
No, it's been superseded, not refined or adjusted.
Superseded.
It's been superseded.
Been out less than 24 hours. I'll just give him credit. Adam did a lot of work whilst drunk, creating a Star Wars.
That's where the best work comes from.
Creating a Star Wars style scrolling introduction that laid out all of the rules that Ranty had laid out. I mean, don't get me wrong, it didn't go on forever and ever and ever, but there was a solid 15 seconds of scrolling up rules about not talking about flat water, not talking about geometric horizons, not talking about St. John's, not talking about this, not talking about that. You just went on and on and on.
I have to say, Nathan, I only had a few comments. One of them was Aaron Armstrong. Wait, you're sober for once, Adam. I had to respond that I totally refute that suggestion. So yeah, even that in the comments. So there is one that goes on from Humans of Earth, which I think is very, very telling of their position. I won't want to read it, but as a little dig at me about how I should be embarrassed and that talking to people at university about flat Earth. I don't. I talk about it quite proudly. I love wrecking their heads. People.
I'm not sure he's in any position to criticize anybody about being embarrassed about talking about the nonsense that he talks about. He's a prime candidate for being the biggest yodel out there.
Jem Panda's also been put under scrutiny in terms of his assertions about the Isle of Man. He too drew geometric horizons to Earth curve edges that were supposed to be blocking the bottom of the Isle of Man. He was also highly critical of the observation height being used from Google Earth. So it's interesting that we've got a Google Earth height and then another Google Earth height or something completely different from Ranty. So we've got one height from Cats, one height from Ranty, and then the Peanut Gallery have given us a further 2 observation heights. So I'd have thought Jem Panda would have been all over that. 4 observer heights, Jem. You're going to be outraged, right? Like you were with us. Yeah, you're going to get all over that, aren't you, Jem?
That was the reason why he stopped speaking to me. Because the height on Google Earth didn't match the model, and he had to call me a liar. And I was like, Jem, I only took what it said on Google Earth. I mean, I never measured it, but we did go back and measure it, and it went from 35 to I think it was about 42 or maybe 44. There was bugger all in it. It wasn't worth writing home about. They needed to get about, was 100. It about 200 feet or something like that?
It was, I think they needed it to be at 110, 112, something like that.
Well, it was nowhere near anyway. It was much ado about nothing, but Jem didn't speak to me since following that.
Yeah, because he was so passionate, so incredibly passionate about getting the observer height right. Yeah, and I'm absolutely certain, given he's absolutely still proactive in this subject, that he's going to be on your case like flies on shit, Cats and Co. Because Jem Panda made it explicitly clear how outrageous it was to use Google Earth's heights and relinquish Google Earth as a model. He made it explicitly clear that that's not to be used for heights. Yeah? Now, further to that, we've got 4 of them. I'm sure Jem Panda's outraged and will get on to you about this. We won't need to, right? We're not making this claim. But Jem understands implicitly how important this stuff is. He got on at us for about 3 months about it, I believe. Maybe even longer. So, where's that observation height? Have you figured it out yet, you complete clowns?
I was just going to ask, do we have an observer height yet?
No, nor do we have a model. We've shown the elevation profiles, and Ranty criticised the one that Adam made as an example of what they don't have. That's what we got. Yeah, as the one on the bottom that Adam presented is how Google Earth actually presents itself, and you can draw out multitudes of those elevation profiles, all showing Earth flat. The comparison he showed was the thing that they don't have. Day 2, they were challenged to present this. No, they don't, Neil. They don't have anything other than a lot of flat earthers laughing at them.
This photo.
Is it like bingo? Can we just like shout out different random observer heights? Like 32, 45,
58. Bingo!
Ever since the Black Swan.
Go on, Chris.
Sorry, ever since the Black Swan, it's been comedy because the Black Swan got the ballers to finally admit, after years of saying that horizon was geometric, got them to admit that it's not and that it moves.
No.
This
that's
photo.
Not true. I've not heard a single ball earther admit that. Where have you seen that?
That's the claim. That's the implication. When they refract the horizon, they've moved the horizon. That's the implication.
Yeah, but they don't admit it though. I've not heard anybody admit that.
That's what. Just let me get Chris. I want Chris to get to the end of his point. But when they say refraction, that's what Chris has put a more wordy explanation around. That means they're moving the horizon. Just
I know, but they don't admit it though.
He said it's what it is. Just let Chris get to the end of his point.
Okay.
Well, Tim Osmond says that the horizon is not Earth curve, so they've admitted it to some degree. But so that was the first Black Swan, the most famous. This photo, this Black Swan, got them to admit there's no horizon at all, which is hilarious.
Don't they need one of those on a globe?
You can't have it on a flat Earth, though.
Of course.
There's no
every time, and it's always pretty close. So that begs the question then, what did Galileo observe when he claims that he saw a boat rising, dropping behind the edge? What was he observing? Bit of refraction? That'd be a problem, wouldn't it?
Bit of refraction, bit of maths, maybe.
No, they hadn't calculated it then.
What if they had a P900 back then?
I think the word going over.
We probably wouldn't be having this discussion. Sorry, John.
I was just going to say the word over is misused there. Going into the horizon would probably be more accurate. Is what we.
No, Galileo claimed that it went over the horizon. That's where it all comes from, Galileo.
Yes, but what John's pointing out though is I've used that as well, John. So it only I said it takes one word when they're making assertions about the sun in this instance for me. So the sun goes behind, over. Yeah? They only need to say one word, in this case, over. All right, so it's a physical thing that it's over, behind and thereafter. Well, that's an assumption of a sphere, with a physical sphere edge horizon to go over. Yeah? So then begging the question as soon as they say that word. So when you say, well, how did he have an edge to go over? Well, that's his begging the question fallacy.
That's a magic word, like abracadabra.
Isn't it true that both Galileo and Alberoni had no idea about refraction?
No, they were measuring the geometric horizon that when Rumpus details a dip angle measurement is also assuming a physical sphere edge horizon that's currently been voided by the Blackpool Swan. Hello, is this sinking in?
So that's my point. If
Simon Dan's in the Discord chat.
Alberoni and Galileo had no idea of today's ball-torch refraction, then they were obviously saying Earth curve is the horizon.
Yeah, that's the claim in the first instance. What did you say, Chris? What did we put in the chat, did you say?
No, sorry. I said Simon Dan's in Discord chat. Why doesn't he come into voice chat?
Oh, he couldn't do that. He doesn't do that.
Simon Dan.
Well, we'll figure out what's going on with Simon Dan in the after show. So with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this live, unfortunately, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, or joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream, however, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!